We are east of Montreal in the Eastern Townships driving the all-new Hyundai Kona.
This is the N Line, the turbo. Let's go. Drop a gear. Whoa, and away we go.
Sport mode. Definitely have some pep for sure. Little turbo lag.
We are driving the turbo version of this car. Yep. So what's under the hood of this one, Andrea?
A 1.6 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder with an 8-speed automatic transmission. Gone is the 7-speed dual clutch transmission. 190 horsepower and 195 pound-feet of torque. In Canada, this powertrain is available on the N Line models, and in the US on the N Line and Limited models. Standard all-wheel drive in Canada. In the US, front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive options are available.
Now, most people go for the base engine. It's a 2-liter 4-cylinder with what they call an intelligent variable transmission, also called a CVT. 147 horsepower and 132 pound-feet of torque. Front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive options are available in both countries.
Now, of course, there is going to be a Kona EV. It will be arriving next year at dealerships.
All right, so brand new Kona, new feature set. What are the key standard features?
The base trim comes with a 12.3-inch touchscreen, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, a 4.2-inch driver display, 6-way adjustable driver seat, a manual passenger seat, heated cloth front seats, keyless entry with push-button ignition, 17-inch wheels, and blind spot monitoring and rear cross-traffic alert. In the U.S., heated front seats are not standard.
Big drive mode button here, Andrea. You've already got it in sport. What else can we put it in?
Got to put it in S for subscribe, and if you can hit that notification bell, you'll be notified when all of our reviews drop, and then you can watch them.
And we do this, the couple car review, twice a week. The first one drops on Wednesday.
We put another one out on Saturday.
So make sure you like and subscribe, but also follow along on Instagram. It's Motormouth_Andrea to see what's going on behind the scenes. For me, it's Motormouth_Auto, and the links are below the like button. So it's not just me, the Kona is getting bigger, or it has gotten bigger. It's grown in every dimension, more room for everybody. Has it affected the driving dynamics?
I think it has. You know what I'm really missing is that 7-speed dual clutch transmission. We talked to Hyundai about it. There are more people that want a smoother 8-speed automatic transmission, which they're offering in this Kona. Some people feel the dual clutch is a bit jerky. I get it, but there is something about it that just made the whole vehicle more fun. And I feel like Hyundai has done a nice job with this, but I am missing that feature.
We thought the previous turbo version of the Kona was like it was kind of like a hot hatch.
Yeah.
And because it was smaller, it really kind of replicated that whole vibe. Now this is turned in from a hot hatch to almost a compact utility, and you definitely notice that when you drive it.
They have produced a vehicle that is quite different than the previous model Kona.
So we have noticed this is the turbo version. By the way, they don't have the base 2-liter engine here for us to drive, which is a bit of a drag, because that's what a lot of people are going to choose. And we've noticed it does have a little bit of turbo lag, especially with the 8-speed automatic. It's not as quick to downshift as we would have hoped. You do have paddle shifters, but it's now become a really competent subcompact utility instead of that hot hatch.
And Hyundai really wanted to focus on driving dynamics with this new Kona, and I think that they've achieved that with comfort level. I mean, there's a time that we were sitting in the car, we could barely hear that the car was on, and it is a gas model. So I think that they did a good job with that. When you pop it in sport mode, it does become more dynamic. The suspension is a little bit firmer and the steering is heavier, but you put it in normal mode and it just offers a comfortable driving experience.
So with the turbo models, you do get a sportier suspension. We asked like what changed, how much sportier are the springs and shocks. They didn't give us a definitive answer, but that's what they're going with.
Hey, this video is brought to you by Car Vertical.
If you're shopping for a used car, how do you know its history? You have to know the history of the vehicle before you buy.
From accidents to rollbacks, which is tampering with the odometer, or even if the vehicle's been in an accident.
Click on the link in the description below to get a 10% discount on your next used car report.
You will see data collected from 25 different countries, including national registries, insurance companies, car manufacturers, car sale websites, crash car auctions, and car maintenance databases.
The great thing is there are pictures to see the car and a full report that will give you reason to be cautious or move ahead with a good used car.
So when you're buying a used car, you're really buying the previous owner's dedication to that car.
So buying a used car, you want to have as much information as you possibly can get. And it's great to be able to get it all in one source. So go to the link in the description below for Car Vertical. They've set up a special link for Motormouth viewers where you can save 10%.
Now, we've been on gravel roads, nicely paved roads, believe it or not, in Quebec, and some pretty rough roads as well. And I have to say, even on the roughest roads, the cabin still remains somewhat quiet and it doesn't feel too harsh.
Now, speaking of rough roads, if you were to get a flat tire, Andrea, you would want to have a temporary spare tire, right?
Yeah.
But no, in the US, some models get a temporary spare tire, but in Canada, it's only a tire repair kit. So we asked the question, and what did they say?
Hyundai said that majority of people do not want to change their tire anymore, so they don't need a temporary spare tire.
I don't believe that. If you're out in the middle of rural Quebec, I want to be able to change my own spare tire. Anyway, that's for you to decide. Now, you also have to decide whether you like the look of this new Kona. It's grown, the wheelbase is longer, they've certainly changed the look. This actually started as an EV first for the design, and then they've turned it into an internal combustion model, but it's very futuristic. They have the sharp angles down the side. We've seen that with other Hyundai products. I would say the design is maybe a little busy.
I think it's actually quite modern and futuristic looking, and I applaud them for coming up with a design like this in a gas model, because typically you would see this in an EV. You know, it's 6 inches longer than the previous model. It's an inch wider, and the wheelbase is over 2 inches longer, so you're really getting that space in the interior. I do like the light bar in the front and in the back. It keeps everything looking really clean. This offers up to 8.3 inches of ground clearance. It comes standard with LED headlights and LED tail lights in Canada. In the US, not all lights are LED for standard equipment. Standard roof rails, 17-inch wheels available, 18-inch wheels, and 19-inch wheels. We've got the sporty N Line model, which has N Line front and rear bumpers and N Line grille. You've got 19-inch N Line designed wheels and also twin tailpipes.
So in the United States, they have a slightly different way of doing this. So with this turbo engine, you can get the N Line, which we have here in Canada. They also have a limited version, and what's nice about the US packaging is it's not as boy racer looking, but they have more equipment like a power liftgate. Now that is available in the US on that limited trim, however not available at all in Canada. And I would actually like to have something like that here in Canada. So for people that don't want to have this really quite youthful looking exterior, you could get the limited and you could have that feature. So I'm not sure why. They said if they get a lot of complaints and people really want the liftgate, they could add it in the future.
Now, it's not uncommon for this subcompact class to not have a power liftgate. There are actually very few that offer it. You've got the Seltos, you have the Mazda CX-30 that has it.
Did you say the Seltos? That's the cousin to this, right? So always keep that in mind.
And coming up in our hot topic, we have a question about, can you compare the Seltos against the Kona? So stick around for that.
Then we turn our attention to the inside. My hot take on this, Andrea, it's a combination of new and traditional with plenty of real switches, dials, and buttons. You've got that futuristic looking single pane info and instrument cluster screen, but everything else is analog, and I like that. I'm an analog guy.
Yeah, and I really like this N Line trim for the ultra suede and leather interior combo. It's got some nice red trim throughout the vehicle, including stitching on the steering wheel. The heated steering wheel is heated all around. And overall, the center console is very clean and uncluttered. I am missing the traditional shifter at the center console. Hyundai has moved to another type of shifter, which is behind the steering wheel.
Well, that's from their electric vehicles, right? This is going to be electrified, or they have it coming in the new year, so that's what we've got.
Now, there is a good mix of soft touch materials and hard plastic in here. which is typical for the subcompact class. And these seats are fairly comfortable. Hyundai actually made them 30% slimmer to make more room for rear seat passengers.
Could they make me 30% slimmer, Andrea? I like that. Oh, by the way, on the seats, this has a ratchet height adjustment, which we welcome. Other brands could learn from Hyundai. Put that on your passenger seat. All right, let's get into the packages.
In Canada, if you move up to the preferred trim, just one up from the base model, it adds the heated steering wheel and adaptive cruise control. Add the Trend package to this trim to get leatherette upholstery, dual zone temperature control, a sunroof, wireless charger, and a manual passenger height adjustment. The N Line adds the 12.3-inch digital driver display. Add the Ultimate package to that trim, and it opens you up to quite a few more features, like a power driver's seat with lumbar support, ventilated front seats, blind view monitor, surround view monitor, park assist, navigation, and the Bose sound system.
In the United States, the SEL model adds the powered driver's seat and manual height adjustment for the passenger. Add the convenience package to that trim, and that gets you the digital driver display, heated front seats, wireless charger, and navigation. The N Line model adds the sunroof and the Bose sound system, and the limited trim, as we've already mentioned, that's where you get the power liftgate. You also get the heated steering wheel. So this new Kona is a lot bigger. The first image here is me getting in the back seat of the previous model, just not a lot of legroom. Now we transition to this brand new model. There's quite a bit more legroom, adequate headroom, there's an armrest in the back. What are the numbers, Andrea?
Comparing the Kona to the Kia Seltos and Volkswagen Taos, the Kona offers 41.7 inches of front row legroom, which is over 1.5 inches more than the Taos and a little bit more than the Seltos. Second row legroom at 38.2 inches is pretty close amongst these competitors, with the Kona offering a little bit more space.
As we mentioned, no power liftgate in the Canadian market, and the back is much bigger. It's 33% bigger than the previous model, and the floor can be removed and lowered down to give you even more space.
The Kona has 25.5 cubic feet of space behind the second row, which is good, but it falls a little short to the Taos and Seltos. Overall cargo space at 63.7 cubic feet is pretty close to the other two competitors.
We do not have coffee, but we've got a juice box.
Water in a box.
Water in a box. Yeah. Boxy kind of thing.
A paper, like drink box water bottles sort of things.
Time now for questions, coffee, and cars.
I feel like I'm in kindergarten, Andrew. Sippy cup. Your questions from Instagram.
So you might be wondering here before we get to the questions, Andrea, you're in the N Line trim.
Why are you
plugged in?
Because if you get the bigger screen with navigation, it's wired Android and Apple.
Wired. So if you get the trim that doesn't offer navigation, it's wireless. Would this be a good alternative to the Subaru Crosstrek? Absolutely.
Yeah, well, especially now that it's gotten bigger, right?
Yeah.
They have a compelling package. They've got a 2-engine strategy, and Kona has a 2 gas engine strategy and electric coming. So yeah, I think it's a very strong competitor for sure. And they've got the new big screen, but it's different than this one.
It's different. This is spacious. I mean, Hyundai really did a good job with dealing with some of the negativity they received about the Kona, one being rear legroom and cargo space. This has more features. This gets ventilated front seats. It's available.
Yep.
And both of them don't have a power liftgate, do
right.
they?
No.
So, yeah, you have to kind of decide what you want to do on that. They're missing some features.
That's
some
the problem.
have.
In the subcompact class, there is no perfect utility that has everything you want. It's going to be missing something. The closest really is Seltos.
We've got that coming up in our hot topic. Stay tuned for that one. Looks good. Can this make a dent in ordering a Corolla Cross Sport or the RAV4?
Well, this is such a competitive industry, and when they see a hole in the marketplace, they try to fill it, and it seems like everybody in this class of subcompact is getting a little bigger. It seems like an oxymoron. But you know what? That's really what's going to propel this vehicle. It's going to open it up to a whole new category of buyers.
Well, Hyundai said that this Kona, this new one, is the same size as the old Tucson, which is in the compact class. So for sure, things are getting bigger. RAV4, you're going to pay more money for it on the top trim. system, but you're going to get more available features in the RAV4 because it's in the compact class. Corolla Cross, you've got the hybrid option if you want it, which is under 40,000 Canadian, you know, a good price point for a hybrid.
Yeah, but they'll say, well, wait a second, pump the brakes there, Andrea. We're going to have a full electric.
They certainly are. And also the Corolla Cross doesn't come with a lot of features. It's a pretty basic interior, kind of Toyota style, you know. No, nothing like this at all. So I think that if you want something that feels a little bit more refined, a little bit more upscale, something like ventilated front seats in this new Kona might be a deal breaker for some that they want to go with it. Toyota always has that reliability and resale factor that people feel very confident in that brand. Any news to the N model? Would be nice to see the N paired with an all-wheel drive system.
Well, you think about it. If you're going to market cars as N line, you'd better have an N, right? You think about it?
For sure.
Like, why do they have an N line, which is a cosmetics appearance package, if you're not actually going to come out with an N? And that's the biggest problem with the Kona N. It was a load of fun to drive, short wheelbase, front wheel drive. It was a very choppy kind of a ride. Longer wheelbase, add all-wheel drive. The car will, and when it comes, confirmed anything, would be amazing.
We did ask about it this morning in the presentation, and they said it's under consideration.
Of course they're making an N. And now it's time for our hot topic. What's this one, Andrea?
Any hybrid or plug-in hybrid option? Also, how does this compare to the Seltos and or the Niro from Kia?
So you've chosen some great competitors from the Hyundai group. So Niro, I'll do, and then Andrea will do Seltos. The Niro is hybrid, plug-in, or pure EV. Hybrid is really thrifty, way down on power. The plug-in, this isn't offered in a plug-in, and of course they have a full electric coming. But the one thing about Niro, it's front-wheel drive only. And then when you compare the cargo space, it's not as big. However, second row legroom is about the same.
Now for the Seltos, wow, that vehicle offers great value. The amount of features that are available on that model are quite incredible for a subcompact class. Things like driver's seat memory, a power passenger seat, heated rear seats, and then of course ventilated front seats.
And power
liftgate. So when you look at the pricing between the Kona and the Seltos, Seltos comes in a little bit lower, and you're getting all of those extra features, which is impressive for a subcompact class.
All right, let's get into the official fuel economy with this one, the pricing and more in our vital stats.
Let's start with pricing. The base front-wheel drive model starts at just over $28,500 Canadian, and the first all-wheel drive model is just over $30,500 Canadian. The top N Line all-wheel drive model with the ultimate package that we're test driving is just over $41,000 Canadian. In the US, the base front-wheel drive model starts at just over $24,000, and the first all-wheel drive model is just over $25,500. The top limited all-wheel drive model is just over $33,000.
Here's the all-wheel drive fuel economy for the base 2-liter engine. 9 liters per 100 kilometers in the city, 8.1 on the highway. That's 26 miles per gallon city, 29 miles per gallon highway. This 1.6 turbo is rated at 9.8 liters per 100 kilometers city, 8.1 on the highway. That's 24 miles per gallon city, 29 miles per gallon highway. Hyundai offers a warranty of 5 years, 100,000 kilometers, or 60,000 miles. In the US, complimentary maintenance is covered for 3 years or 36,000 miles. So Seltos, you know, is going to come up in for your consideration.
For your consideration. 4 vehicles for you to consider.
Up first is the Kia Seltos with a 2-liter 4-cylinder, 147 horsepower, and a starting price under $28,000.
The Honda HR-V with a 2-liter 4-cylinder, 158 horsepower, and a starting price just over $31,000.
The Toyota Corolla Cross with a 2-liter 4-cylinder, 169 horsepower, and a starting price just over $29,000.
The Volkswagen Taos with a 1.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, 158 horsepower, and a starting price just over $29,500.
So there are 4 subcompact crossovers for you to consider.
Lightning round. Two things we like to see improved.
I do like the comfort level of the cabin.
I like the fact they have real switches inside.
What I miss is that dual clutch transmission. It was just a little bit more fun, that previous model.
And I'd like them to pave the roads in Quebec, please.
Oh my goodness, they are rough. The new Hyundai Kona checks a lot of the right boxes. Space is a big one.
Right below, tell us about what you think of the design.